Hello and thanks for joining us on Daily Politics. This is a program that engages issues around policy, politics and governance. My name is Shafiu Suleiman. And on the platform this evening, we're looking at developments, especially in the ruling All Progressives Congress, the APC. This is not in isolation. We are looking at the general atmosphere, talking about the political temperature of the country ahead of the major political parties' presidential primaries. Now, recall that the APC had to, suddenly postpone its presidential aspirant screening. It was scheduled to hold today, but has to be postponed to tomorrow. That is Tuesday, 24th May 2022. This has already, sent shivers around some political camps, especially of the presidential aspirants. It is also coming at a time there has been concerns with regards to the possibility of adopting, a consensus arrangement for the presidential primary. This, among several other developments, we're going to be looking at on the platform this evening. And I have guests in the studio. In the studio here, I have Shehu Atta, is an APC stalwart. He's also a member of the Tinubu support groups, one of the groups. And also in the studio, we'll be having Mr. Fidelis McLever, who is the investigation editor of the Daily Trust newspaper, to discuss these issues. Also via Skype, we will be joined by Onugu Mohammed, who is the Chief Press Secretary to the Kogi State Governor, Yahya Bello. Together, we'll be looking at these issues very closely. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming to the studio.
It's my pleasure.
Right. Okay, let's go straight into the discussion. Let's start with you. Okay. I have a critical stake. The fact that you belong to one of the camps talking about the Tinubu support groups.
The Tinubu School to School. I'm the co-convener of the Tinubu School to School.
Okay, School to School.
Yes.
That's right. Okay. There has been some level of apprehension on the part of the aspirants. Some would say, I don't know how much of this can be felt in your camp with regards to the sudden postponement of the screening, even though it's now to hold tomorrow. How did you receive this news in the first place?
Thank you for having me this evening. First of all, APC is a party that is highly organized in terms of foresight. We want to see that at the end of the day, these primary elections are conducted peacefully and in a very open way, Leading to the screening, it was postponed because just to give time for the organizers to conduct a proper screening for the presidential aspirants. And like we all know, it's already on the news that by tomorrow, the screening will commence and it's going to go across board to all the aspirants.
So in other words, there wasn't any cause for alarm. You didn't feel, you were not really jittery about it?
In view of the number of candidates or aspirants that has purchased the form, it's unprecedented in the history of Nigeria to have this high number of people contesting for the presidential seat. It also shows that APC as a party is doing very well. For a single party to have such a large number of aspirants vying for a seat, it shows that Nigerians has so much confidence in the party.
Yes, we're talking about 28, presidential aspirants who have submitted their forms, to the party. Just coming to that, looking at the number and perhaps the calls for some sort of consensus now. I've heard the former speaker, Nimeji Bankwele, talking about modified consensus where the party should engage, stakeholders and what have you, perhaps so that some of them can be made to, have, I mean, either step down or something like that. Do you see this happening? Looking at the atmosphere, aspirants are already, around the country, moving from one state to the other, trying to combat support from delegates.
Well, to me, I think it's very, very difficult to achieve that arrangement of consensus at this point in time, given the spirit atmosphere I'm seeing in each of the camps, trying to grab the ticket. And like you said, the sheer number of aspirants that have come out to purchase this form, that huge number, I do not see most of them yielding to the issue of stepping down or saying they will do consensus. Of course, there could be some agreement in certain areas, but in the long run, the number that will be left will still be huge. So
despite all,
so I see a situation whereby by the end of the day, we'll be going into the primaries with a very large number, especially from the ruling
APC.
Okay. So that's where the scramble has taken a very serious dimension.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, I think the consensus arrangement may be very difficult at this point in time.
Okay, coming back to the back and forth, it is not the first time we've been hearing about this. Right from the days of the convention that took place, there has been a lot of postponement, about 3 or 4, instances, and here we are with, despite the tight, schedule, so to speak. Political parties are racing against time, and yet the APC is postponing a very important exercise like the screening for 24 hours, so to speak. Even though it wasn't that long initially, some people felt it's going to be indefinite because they didn't mention the date that it will be taking place. But now that they've mentioned it's going to take place tomorrow, but yet, what brought about the sudden, postponement remains a serious concern, among. So, what do you make up with all of these inconsistencies within the APC? What could have led to all of that?
Yes, sincerely, if you ask me, even though I'm not part of the National Working Committee, so I might not be privy to some information, But then, sincerely, if you ask me, considering the huge number of aspirants that has purchased the form for APC, it needs a lot of organization, and it needs a lot of, it needs to bring a lot of these candidates together to do proper screening at the end of the day.
Well, screening has already been done, so it's just about, it's left for the party to now announce the date for screening, and all of these things are even known because there is a timeline. So.
But definitely, like we all know, the party has rescheduled the screening for tomorrow, on 24th of
May.
Yes. So, and hopefully it's gonna be get done, and we'll move forward from there.
Yeah, looking at your camp, there are several camps, but your principal, talking about Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has been very consistent. He's been moving around the country. Some will say perhaps must have traversed more number of states than other aspirants and so on. It shows that he's still upbeat about his chances. But at some point, there are also speculations that he's also looking at another option. That is, in the case it didn't work out, the way he expected. Talking about the presidential, how through is this?
Our party leader, by the special grace of God, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is one of the founding fathers of this party, APC. And like you rightly said, since January that he declared, since January, he has been traversing the length and breadth of this country to consult with critical stakeholders, traditional rulers, party leaders, governors, So he has virtually toured all the states. And I will say confidently that going by the tempo of the activity that has happened over time, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is well positioned to clinch the APC ticket. And we know the party will do the right thing, because anything short of that is a recipe for chaos. You get, and we know by the special grace of God.
Even though we don't pray for that,
we don't pray for that.
You were talking about democratic contest. Here you are talking about consensus arrangement and what have you.
What I'm saying now is that we know our party is going to do the right thing. You know, it's either going to be the direct or the indirect primary votes. And going by either of these, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, our camp is ready for the primary election. And I can tell you we're going to come out with a victory on that.
Okay, very, very, very optimistic, about the chances. But then there is also a concern with regards to the silence on the part of the president with regards to his choice, because there has been this notion that the president holds the ace, so to speak. I've heard the governor of Borno, Zulum, talking about the president as the ultimate decider as to who succeeds him and what have you. Now he's yet to come out on that. And then we're looking at the time frame, getting close to the presidential primaries. It's a few days away. How are you looking at this? Is the suspense and, of course, what he hopes to achieve with it?
Well, that's one question that most Nigerians are asking and they are interested in knowing. Especially, the president of the country, whatever party he belongs to, provides the direction, especially in times like this. Ordinarily, everybody would have expected that by now, the president would at least, even if by his body language, be able to provide a clue as to whom he would want to succeed him, but it appears that is not being done, and the whole country is left in suspense. It's just a matter of guessing, and you see most of the aspirants are just using that to engage in name dropping and all of that. Everybody is, so we really do not understand why that silence from the president.
Could it be this a strategy, for instance, to keep to sustain the momentum, in the camps of the
yes, so that is not impossible. With politicians, you never can, sometimes predict them. So it's possible that because I know even as it is, there are attempts, to achieve that consensus. We're hearing stories that, some of these people may probably have met with the president, in a bid to, have that kind of arrangement. But that's still within the realm of speculations. Nobody can, specifically tell you that this is what is. So, like you said, it could be a strategy. But at this point in time, I think, it is about time that if actually either from the PDP or the APC really want to achieve a consensus, because consensus building is also part of democracy. That's right. So there's it's not something that is a secret cult kind of thing. If you are doing it, people should be able to know. You don't want to keep people to say we want to leave them in suspense until the 11th hour or so. Is it that the person you are bringing is somebody that will not have the support of the generality of Nigerians? You want to take them by surprise. If you do that ab initio, you do that earlier. And then people see the qualities behind that. They will even, throw their weight and all of that.
Yeah, but some will say perhaps it's a concern that has to do with the possibility of an implosion within the party, because when you begin to, when aspirants are beginning to see the handwriting on the wall that they may not likely get what they want, they may likely leave the party, and the party wouldn't want to lose such gladiators and so on. I don't know how, you're looking at that. Because some are already, looking at, when I talked about the options now, some say there are
consensus.
Yes, there are options for even the aspirant themselves, looking at what's going on. Some already have a plan B kind of arrangement. It's either the pitch tent with other, political camps and so on. But then let's look at this concern too that has to do with also still in the realm of speculations that there are people who are routing for a northern candidate, kind of, some who talked about retention of power. Does this unsettle your camp, so to speak, looking at your position, coming from the south?
Yeah, when you look at the arrangement that is already on ground for the ruling party, the APC, our party, already we have the party chairman coming from the northern part of the country. Logically, ideally, we assume that the position of the presidency will be zoned to the southern part of the country. But there are a lot of speculation going on currently, and we have seen some couple of aspirants coming from the north, picking the tickets and all that. But
buying the forms.
Buying the forms, rather, And sincerely, if you will ask me, ideally, the presidency should go to the south. I get it.
Ideally.
Ideally,
that's the ideal thing to do.
That's the ideal thing to do. The presidency should go to the south. So I don't see the possibility of the party chairman coming from the north and the presidency still going to the north. So there have to be that balance. And I'm optimistic at the end of the day, our party will do the needful to go to the south.
Okay. Looking at statement made by the National Organizing Secretary, talking about the fact that the 28 aspirants who have submitted their forms, saying that none of them has withdrawn. So it left much to be desired. Some look at it, the fact that, okay, those who have, purchased the form, talking about the 28, there are 2 or 3 that are said to have distanced themselves from the race. For instance, the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, is distanced himself from the race, even though no one heard it from his mouth. It's just also about people talking on his behalf and so on. And then
use of
and then he still haven't, he returns the nomination forms. Who did that? And on behalf of who? That's one. There has been also, concerns, speculations that the CBN governor, the current CBN governor, is also likely withdrawing from the race. But if he also submits his forms intact and is still in the race, and we have Akim Biabode, that is the ADP, and then also in the race. So how, it left much to be desired. Nigerians are beginning to wonder, what exactly are the plans? Could these people resurface? There's also, there has been talks around that perhaps former President Goodluck Jonathan may return to the race, that is if he has even opted out in the first place. So how are you looking at all of these permutations?
Well, that is also part of the intrigues that you find in politics. Sometimes politicians use these kinds of suspense and strategies to take the people by surprise. For instance, in the case of Jonathan, you remember that time that news came that he had purchased the form, or that
it was purchased on his behalf. A group of
people from the northern part of the country had purchased the. It generated a lot of discussions and even debates on the social media. So by the end of the day, he came out to say no, he did not authorize the purchase of the form. It was not with his notice and all of that. But later it was very obvious that yes, the form was actually purchased. And now,
in his name.
In his name. And there were even some bank,
details
that were, provided to.
And coincidentally, on the same day,
yes,
he was also seen with the
national chairman of the party as the party secretary. One wondered what he had gone there to go and do. And then there was that issue of his membership of the
party,
APC.
That's right.
That was also raised some curiosity because we knew that officially
he hasn't defected
from the PDP, even though it has been said that for a long time he had stopped attending to PDP functions and even their meetings and stuff like that.
Lately, he was also seen with the governor of Benue State, who went to they had a closed-door session with him.
So you see, in politics, anything can happen. You cannot, rule out the possibility that, sometimes they come to test the waters to see how, people will react and all of that. Then they will withdraw to the drawing board and then do some permutations. And, so I wouldn't be surprised that by the end of the day, you will still find these people
resurfacing.
Resurfacing. And based on the alignment and realignments that are also going on the ground that we do not see, they also are coming. When they come with their own conditions. So sometimes,
right. At some point he was said to have been asking for an endorsement from the president
as the sole, So it's possible that by the end of the day, you will still find these faces, these people coming back into the, contest.
That's right. So in the event we have, someone like the former president coming back as a consensus candidate, for instance, how would that, translate in terms? How would you manage such a situation? I know you just be speaking your own mind, but not necessarily your principle. But within the camp, the pillars, and how people think. Would that be a surprise, or would that be a challenge?
The case of the former president, President Goodluck Jonathan, coming to pick reform in APC, has generated a lot of controversy. Would I say controversy here and there?
Apprehension and anxiety.
Apprehension, and one thing we have to put into consideration is acceptability.
Okay.
We still cannot even ascertain that he's a card-carrying member of the APC. And all of a sudden, you are picking the from. There's going to be consensus, and you're talking about possibility of he being the flag bearer of the APC. For now, we don't even know whether he is a card-carrying member of the APC.
But Mr. McLean talked about the fact that in politics anything can happen.
It can happen. Yeah.
Overnight, someone can decide to join a party, and
at the end
of
the day, is the party members that will go out there to campaign for the candidate. And if the majority of the party member does not accept your candidate, that is a big issue for the party itself. We have a candidate in our party leader, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that is widely accepted in the country. You can see what is happening all over the nation. Everywhere he goes.
But other aspirants are also doing the same. And also getting the support. Some will say, delegates are a bride to all. Because everyone goes there.
I'm talking about the level of acceptability, the overwhelming majority of Nigerians.
That is by your own estimation.
Of course.
By general estimation.
Well, if you said it's by your own estimation, because everybody has his own, others will also tell you the same.
For the emphasis is that acceptability have to be, is one thing you have to consider before you will even if you're going to go by consensus, it have to be the most accepted aspirant, So and there's going to be that understanding within all the aspirants. Okay, this is the person. If we're going to go by consensus,
That's right.
But I want to believe that our party will go by the option of indirect
primaries, where the delegates will have to decide.
Yes, because
Mark Leber, you want to say something?
Yes, I wanted to say something, because beyond the issue of acceptability that we talked about, there is also the issue of interest.
Yeah.
And when it comes to interest, certain political gladiators also push for certain things because of their, kind of interest.
Absolutely.
Yes, we hear the issue of Jonathan coming, that some governors, even in the north,
resisted.
Ironically, not resisted. They're the ones that were,
drumming the support.
It's even one of the governors that paid the money
for the ticket.
Okay. And so there is also that other aspect of saying, if Jonathan would have to come into the presidency again now, he's going to only do one term.
That's right.
So there is also that talk about the fact that certain people from the northern part who are also ambitious and want to
take him over.
Yes, are now pushing for his candidature, so that by adventure he clinches the ticket and eventually emerges as the president.
And what guarantees do they have that he will also leave the stage? What guarantees do they have that he will leave the stage? We've seen that happen, during his when the application of the doctrine of necessity. And in 2011, where he ran against those who talked about the principle of rotation and what have you. Okay, coming back to, the politics around the delegate issue. Now, the amendment to Section 84, subsection 8, that was done by the National Assembly, was meant to, pave way for statutory delegates. And yet the president hasn't, assented to that. And that also, to some extent, some would say, may have been overtaken by events, looking at the INEC, timeline and guideline and what have you. But do you, what do you understand? What's your impression about his reluctance, in signing that amendment, which the party felt is very, very important and critical, since a number of, party chieftains, including the president himself and his vice, are left out?
Well, I think the issue of this statutory delegates thing, I don't know why at this point the president is still reluctant about signing that amended version of the listing. But when you talk about this statutory delegates thing, like you say, most of these people have already been, left out. So it is very, very difficult to really read his mind as to why he does not want to sign for that particular, amendment.
Yes. Right. Okay, I think it's about time we take a break. In case you're just joining us, the program is Daily Politics, and we're looking at some new developments in the ruling All Progressives Congress, the APC, ahead of its national convention, which is expected to produce its flag bearer ahead of 2023 elections. We've been seeing twists of events, within a couple of days, ranging from postponement and so on and so forth, and the intrigues, around the convention itself and the party primaries. And I've been interfacing with two gentlemen in the studio. Shehu Atta is an APC stalwart and also a member of the Tinubu support group. You could say school to school. That's right.
School to school.
So, we know door to door, we know, house to house and kind of. This is school to school.
Yes.
Anyway, we also had Fidelist Mark Leber, who is the investigation editor of the Daily Trust. Together, we'll be looking at the issues very closely. We'll take a break. When we return, we'll continue with the discussion. Stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with us. It's still Daily Politics, coming to you live from our studios here in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. And of course, we'll be looking at developments in the APC with Shehu Atta, an APC stalwart and a member of Tinubu Support Group.
Tinubu School to School.
School to School. And now we have Mr. Fidelis Makleba, who is also the investigation editor of Daily Trust newspapers. We unfortunately were unable to link up with Mohammed Onugu, that's the Chief Press Secretary to the Kogi State Governor, because of the challenges with the technology. But we hope to do that in our perhaps subsequent editions of the program. Before the break, yes, we're looking at the politics around delegates and, of course, what the implications of the delay, in signing the amended version of the Electoral Act 2022. Along this line, it generated, the reactions it's generating is beyond, it's across party lines. The PDP recently accused the presidency or the APC of attempting to scuttle even the entire electoral process and what have you. That the decision not to sign, the amended version of the bill was done specifically to create some sort of crisis, political crisis or constitutional crisis. I don't know. I mean, in the electoral process, do you buy into that?
I really buy into conspiracy theories because we need to look at things objectively and see the implication of our actions in terms of even the legal implications. As it is now, I don't know whether it is belated already, because we know that if we are going to sign this electoral, the Electoral Act, and there's going to be some legal implication in terms of the participation of the statutory delegates and all that. I'm sure the party and the party leadership is being very careful not to delve into things that at the end of the day will affect the fortune of the party going into the election and after the election. So, and that will be, for the president to be reluctant in signing that act. So it's, there will be indication that there are considerations that are beyond us. That have been, they are considering, So I want to believe that it will be in the best interest of the party and the future of the country. So I don't want to buy into any
speculation or
this and that, and all that.
Okay, but then, Mr. Makleba, looking at the implications yet, some already accusing the party of, coming in with something new, so to speak. Some are saying that it is not possible, or it is an abnormal, for the president, after signing the Electoral Act, to come back and also consider any kind of arrangement, modification into the Electoral Act and so on. And then looking at the speed, at which the amendment, was done, it also left much to be desired. Some say the accelerated, exercise or attention given to it by the National Assembly perhaps shows that there's certain interest. I don't know if you're looking at it from that perspective.
I'm also surprised because you see this issue of this Electoral Act, the journey through this Electoral Act had been full of, intrigues, ups and downs and all of that. To the extent that even the last general elections, the act was supposed to be amended, but it wasn't done. So now that we're going into another election year, the expectation of Nigerians is that there would be a document that would be there that will serve as a,
a guide, electoral framework. That's right.
So this amendment thing had been there on and off, but like you rightly say, the speed with which the
amendment was
carried out, we thought that thorough work would have already been done, and even the presidency, I think it's a matter of the ruling party is in charge. So even at the level of the leadership of the National Assembly, which is made up of members of the PDP.
The
APC.
the APC largely, the principal officers.
Principal officer. There would have been some kind of consultation with the presidency, even through the office of the Attorney General of the Federation, as to the possible implications of including A, B, or C in the amendment before coming up with that amendment.
Yeah.
So,
and some say, the delay, in signing the amendment was also for Mr. President to be careful, extraordinarily careful, looking at what happened, when he signed, and at some point he felt that there is need to make some adjustments, and then he couldn't trust the National Assembly. And so on. So could that be a reason why?
So, but then you don't see that there is no, even at the level of at that level, there's still politics with the issue of amending the constitution. Otherwise, there is supposed to be like synergy between the executive and the legislature in doing this. And so, by like you said, well, it's also possible that because some of these people could also ambush the process by coming up with certain things that by the end of the day they will be subject to litigations and stuff like that. So, the president is the person who is in a position to know what he has seen with regards to that particular.
Yeah, but eventually, if he managed to sign it, based on the recommendations of the Attorney General and those he has assigned to look into it critically, it will not take effect during this 2023 elections because of the...
That is another implication.
So it could be, is it to say that it will now be an exercise in futility, or the objective of the hasty nature of the amendment would have been defeated?
Definitely. Once it's not going to come into effect before the next general election, it means even the efforts and then the urgency with which it was approached is eventually defeated. Because if it will not be applied in the next general election, then one will begin to wonder then what was the essence. But of course, a document of that nature transcends.
Goes beyond the 2023 election.
So if actually the content is worth the effort that was put inside, even if it is not
going
put
to be
into
used,
practice because of time factor and other things, it is still a document that in future, because election is not just done
it's something that
one this and then
it's not one
it's a continuous.
That's right.
So if that will improve our subsequent electoral processes, I think it will still serve the purpose.
Right, Mr. Shiu, looking at the time frame, and of course the need for political parties to put their acts in order, just like you said, party have to be very careful in terms of whatever they do, because they could end up, violating some of the guidelines, and then it will affect them, and so on and so forth. What do you see, with regards to how APC is handling this, trying to manage time, all political parties are racing against time, just like I said. A number of them have indicated interest, have asked for an extension, which INEC said is not possible because it's going to jeopardize the entire processes. So how do you want the APC, for instance, manage this vis-a-vis trying to get it right, at the same time also fast-tracking, meeting up with the timeline. Yes.
If you see our party's timetable, by 26th of this month, we'll be doing our the governors aspirants and the House of Representative members aspirants will be conducting their primary election. Then by 27th of this month, we'll be having that for Senate and the State House of Assembly, and by 29th, 30th of the presidential primary election. I think looking at the way we're approaching it, I'm hopeful that we'll be able to meet the deadline because the INEC deadline is 3rd or 4th of July.
yeah.
4th of July. So we anticipate that whatever issue comes from our own process, I'm talking about the APC now, you know, the presidential primary election is scheduled to end on 30th of this month. So we still have about 4 days window.
But in between, there is also appeal.
Appeal,
You know,
yeah,
that is,
in between
so
that,
how
they
do you manage the
appeal,
appeal?
two days appeal. So we still have 31st first. You know, we still have 31st first. So
Depending
I'm
on, because we're
hopeful-
talking about the number of
Yes,
aspirants.
there are-
Yeah.
Running into thousands,
You know, we
especially
have-
in the case of the Senate and the House of Reps.
Yeah, we have a party that is being led by somebody who is very experienced. I'm talking about His Excellency Senator Abdullahi Adamu. So I'm sure him and his team will have considered all these constraints before putting up the timetable for the election. And as I'm talking to you, several committees have been organized, and you know,
Yes.
and I believe that
Have been inaugurated. Today also the
have the Ekiti
State
State,
Election Committee was also inaugurated. So there are a number of activities by the political parties.
the party leadership, I'm sure they are conscious of timing, and they want to do everything to ensure that we meet up with the timing to deliver to the primaries and
Mr. McLever,
to resolve.
as we round up, what do you anticipate?
What I wanted to just say something regarding to, you know, politicians, especially these two major political parties, each one is trying to outdo the other.
Yes.
So even in terms of conducting these primaries and this thing, it's strategically party A would want to see what party B is going to do, what kind of outcome will come from their distance, so that they can now
take advantage of that.
So I think that is also contributing to this back and forth we are seeing in terms of postponement and all of that. But like you were saying, what's my final?
Yes. What are you anticipating? You know, ahead of the convention, how do you think the party can navigate through all of this?
Well, by the end of the day, the primaries will be held, but I foresee a situation whereby the post-primary period will be, you know, rancorous, because the outcome of the primaries may further create cracks within both parties, the APC and the PDP, especially when you don't achieve that consensus, or even if you foist the consensus on the people. Like the case of this, the election of the national chairman of the APC at that time, where, you know, although I think by the end of the day, the dust that raised did not last long. And because I think they
were able to manage the outcome.
And they were able to manage that one. But at this level of the presidential, I'm foreseeing a situation whereby it will be, except if they apply, you know, wisdom and a lot of this thing, it will be difficult to manage it at that level. It will likely lead to an implosion.
Okay, possible implosion. And the third parties, the alternate parties are also laying siege, waiting for any fallout. Let me get your last line as we round up.
You know, the APC is a party that has, over time, has grown in size, you know. We are the largest party in Africa.
Claiming 14 million, and, even though we're here to see the register.
I believe that it's because the party is doing well. That is why we have been able to attract a lot of people into the party over time. And I want to believe our party will do the right thing. And the right thing is that we're going to go into an election, either direct or indirect primary election. And at the end of the day, a unanimous candidate will emerge. And hopefully, we are praying to Almighty God that it will be our party leader, that is the person of Asiwaju Bola.
Well, there's nothing wrong in praying. You know? Thank you very much, gentlemen. Talking about Mr. Fidelis McLever, investigation editor at Daily Trust, and Shehu Atta, an APC stalwart, the Tinubu School to School, support group. Thank you very much.
Tinubu School to School.
Yes, thank you very much for your perspectives.
Why was it not market to market?
It has to be school to school.
Perhaps we'll see also market to market. Thank you very much, gentlemen. On their behalf and the technical crew, my name is Shafiu Suleiman. Have yourself a wonderful evening ahead.